Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me again for the Secret Teachings of Jesus. This is part two. So if you missed part one, you can go back and just have a quick look at that before you go into this one. Um, I'm really excited to share this with you. I think some of these teachings by Jesus are really missed by the common everyday person and by the church, and it can bring people to a better understanding of what Jesus was talking about and what he was teaching. And it's such a beautiful thing. So thanks for joining me. Here we go. Let's dive right into teaching number two. So, secret teaching number two is God is unconditional love. So, God does not judge, condemn, or cast people who sin into hell. Jesus teaches that we do this to ourselves by our own thinking, ignorance, and judgment of others. Jesus teaches the universal laws that govern our universe, put in place by God as guardrails for our benefit and safety. Whether you like it or not, it's like gravity, an ever present force that you cannot see, regardless of your opinion of it or your understanding of it. Jesus is the teacher of these laws, he didn't create them. So one of the big things I think the church is missing, and what's currently taught in Christianity and Catholicism, is the fact that God is some sort of you know, dad in the sky that's looking down on us and telling us when we're good, and when we're bad, and judging us and making us feel guilty for things and casting us into hell and giving us these dire consequences. And what I believe Jesus taught was that God is unconditional love. He doesn't do any of those things. He's better than that, if you want to say. He's above that, and he is unconditional love, and so unconditional, in fact, that he allows us to make our own free will decisions, then only to learn from them. So if we do make mistakes, quote unquote sin, there's no need to feel guilty, because all the negative consequences that come from that, you experience, and so you're getting the lesson in equal proportion to how much you go out of off the law, I would say, off of the path. So it's specific to you, and it's not God doing it to you. That's just the law. That's the way it works. And the other thing is that Jesus isn't God. He's just teaching us these laws. He didn't make these laws. He is trying to enlighten us with these laws that the universe is always using, and it's for our benefit, actually. So, and if you know how to use it to your benefit, and you know how these laws work, you can create a better life, a better state of being for yourself today. You don't have to wait till you die. Okay? So here we go with Matthew 5:44-45. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. So Jesus is suggesting here that just like your Father does in heaven, he loves everybody, including the good and the bad, your enemies and your allies. He doesn't discriminate between that. It's always love, always unconditional love. So be like that. Be like your Father who is in heaven. And he's suggesting that here's the parable: is the sun rises on the good and evil, does it not? The sun rises every day. It doesn't matter what you've done the day before. There's always a new day. It always rises, and you could be the best person in the world, or you could be quote unquote doing evil, and the sun still rises for you, does it not? And so same with the rain. Just like we need rain to grow our crops for drinking, whatever. It doesn't matter if you've done good or bad. He's not saying you don't need to make sacrifices to make it rain, right? He's saying even if good and bad people both receive the same weather, right? So there's no judgment on his part, on God's part. So that's interesting. Let's go to now Matthew 7:1-5, which the focus here is do not judge. So let's start here. Verse 1. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use it will be measured to you. Why do you look at that speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take that speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. So I love this passage here, and it almost makes me chuckle every time with the plank in your own eye, because it's just so true. And if you've ever experienced this in your life, if you ever look at somebody or you say, "Oh, why are they wearing this? Why are they making these decisions?" Almost immediately you can think of some scenario where you've done the same, and it's almost comical. It's almost sad. It's so comical. But really, I think the church is missing a huge teaching here when it says, do not judge. Yes, everyone understands that, okay, from that teaching, okay, we don't judge, okay? But why? And why is it so important? Because when you judge, it's like, it's that saying with the lightning bolt comes through you first. So the lightning bolt of judgment comes through you, and then it goes to the person. So it lowers your state of being, it lowers your consciousness, it lowers your level of love in that moment. And even if the other person doesn't even know you're doing it, you've already lowered your own self, your own state of being into this level of judgment, okay? This frequency of judgment. And so that's why it's saying the exact, it says, do not judge or you too will be judged. For the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and it will be measured with the same measure you use, it will be used against you, because as soon as you judge somebody, that is the measure you're using. It's already being used against you because you're lowering your state of consciousness, your state of vibration. You're having these negative thoughts about one of your brothers or sisters, somebody else, okay? And it's not beneficial to you. So as soon as you make that judgment, no matter how grandiose the judgment is or how minuscule it is, you will feel it in your own heart immediately, and it affects you, not the other person. So you're taking the hit. So Jesus is suggesting, instead of looking around at everybody else and thinking what they could be doing better or different, or what if you don't understand them, why don't you focus on yourself? Because everyone has lots of things to work on. We don't need to be wasting time on other people's judging other people. And once you clear all the judgments from yourself, then you can truly help your brother, because you'll understand why they may be doing certain things. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, I have a little bit of a saying that says, basically, if someone's doing something irrational or something that doesn't seem to make sense to you, there's a reason it makes sense to them. And partially it's they're doing something maybe out of a lack of love of themselves or of a bad scenario that's happened to them, and they see truth in moving forward in a negative way in terms of maybe stealing or hurting others, and they're only doing it out of an ignorant state, and so they're not truly trying to hurt anybody really, or they're truly trying to they're doing it because they're hurt, and so we can give compassion to people that way. So it's a different way to think about it. Okay, so that's do not judge. Now we go into a little bit of a bigger story here, and this one's really cool. It's John 8, 1-12, and it's regarding adultery on the Mount of Olives. So I'll read the story here and we can quickly dissect it. So, but Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Now early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said to him, Teacher, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what do you say? This they said, testing Jesus, that they might have something of which to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger, as though he did not hear. So when they continued asking him, he raised himself up and said to them, He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone at her first. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. Then those who heard it, being convicted by their conscience, went out one by one, beginning with the oldest, even to the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in his midst. When Jesus had raised himself up and saw no one but the woman, he said to her, Woman, where are those accusers of yours? Has no one condemned you? She said, No one, Lord. And Jesus said to her, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Then Jesus spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. So I just think this is a beautiful story where Jesus is basically saying, look, we've caught this person red-handed. There's no question that they've sort of quote unquote sinned or done something that's, not advantageous, not positive. But is it effective? Is it helpful to condemn them, to hurt them, to berate them, to make them feel bad for themselves, to judge them, to yes, is that helpful for them in their learning? Remember that when I was saying before that people that do these things do things that are, sinful. They're doing it out of a lack of love of themselves. They're doing it out of a confusion, out of ignorance. And to help them get out of that ignorance, to help them get out of that lack of love in themselves, it doesn't help to stone them. It doesn't help to hurt them. It doesn't help to judge them. We have to be like God and like what Jesus displays here and give forgiveness. Don't we want forgiveness and compassion when we make mistakes? And don't we all make mistakes, like Jesus is saying here? And so when we make mistakes, what's the quickest, easiest way for us to learn from those mistakes? Is when people give us compassion for those mistakes. And they give us understanding and they give us grace, right? Grace is huge here. And that allows us to turn the corner and go, oh my goodness, if Jesus can give me grace for this, or somebody can give me grace for this, maybe I can give myself a little bit of grace and I can make a different decision next time instead of continuing to hurt myself and others. And so if you follow in his path, it'll bring light to your life. If you're condemning and stoning someone, now you're hurting somebody else. Now you're getting this state of vibration that's negative. When you could give compassion, forgiveness, unconditional love, right? Like we talked about. So amazing story here. Another passage here about judging. Very similar to the one in Matthew. So Luke 6:37-38. Do not judge. Judge not, and you shall not be judged. Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be put into your bosom. For with the same measure that you use, it will be measured back to you. So this is another example, just like the one in Matthew, where it's talking about as soon as you judge somebody, you'll be judged the same manner. And another way to look at this is the way you judge others, you judge yourself. So you put yourself in the same box. So if you say, I would never wear those pants, I would never say those words, I would never do these actions. Well, now you have to be accountable to doing what you just said you would never do, or what you would judge others to doing. And you'd be surprised how you might slip, your tongue might slip, or how you might do something that you said you wouldn't do, or that you would judge others. And so you're painting yourself into this box, you're limiting yourself. And it may not be wise to do so, because now, regardless, if no one else was on earth and you were just there by yourself, you would be judging yourself and you would be feeling judged just based on your own opinions, even though there's no one even else there looking at you. So your own conscious, your subconscious, you're judging yourself, and it brings your vibration, your frequency, and it brings you into a lower state of being. So don't do that. Be careful. Be careful what your judgments are, because those are the judgments that you judge yourself by. Okay? I think this is the last one here. We're going to go to Matthew 9:13. It's Matthew and the tax collector. Okay. As Jesus passed on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax office, and he said to him, "Follow me." So he arose and followed him. Now it happened as Jesus sat at the table in the house that, behold, many tax collectors and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" When Jesus heard that, he said to them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I did not come to call the righteous, but the sinners to repentance." So this is really showing that Jesus had no preconceived notions of what you've done in the past, what kind of person you were, what you did for your occupation. He's showing non-judgment here by he's willing to sit with anybody as long as they have a willing heart, because he's not part of this club that he only talks to people that are, thinking the same way he does or believes the same things he does. He has unconditional love for everybody, no matter what. And really, the ones that need the most, quote unquote, help, maybe the furthest from the truth at this moment, correct? So why would you not want to sit with them and bring them closer to the truth, instead of avoiding them and making them feel worse about themselves, making them feel less than, and casting them away from yourself? It doesn't make any sense. He's saying, I'm here for everybody. I'm here for the worst of the worst. That's what I'm here. That's why I'm here, to bring them out of that state of being, bring them into the light. Right? So he's showing unconditional love. He's showing non-judgment. And I just think that's a beautiful story. And the interesting thing here, it's not directly to the secret teaching point, but he says specifically here, I desire mercy and not sacrifice. Okay, so God doesn't take pleasures in sacrificing ourselves or sacrificing animals, sacrificing anything. He desires mercy and repentance. He desires honesty, humbleness, right? Repentance, forgiveness, these type of qualities. And the reason that is because if you can display those qualities, it means that you understand the way to the kingdom of heaven more than those who show the opposite side of that coin. Because if you're showing things like the opposite, then it shows that your ego is in control. That's what he's saying. So Matthew and the tax collector, amazing. So that's it for part 2. This is to be continued. We'll definitely have at least one more part here. Thanks for joining me. I just think these teachings are so foundational, fundamental, that it can really bring the average person who's maybe not even religious into Jesus's teachings, into his understandings, and hopefully raise their state of being, their consciousness, and bring them closer to the kingdom of heaven today. Much love to you all. Take care.